Welcome in, guys, to our recap, the NFL Round 1, Day 1 recap. So I'm going to talk about a couple of the things that I liked about the draft, a couple of the big, the big winners, big losers of the whole first night. Now, I am going to come back tomorrow maybe and talk about round 2 and 3 because I really want to talk about those rounds as well. A couple of things about that. But anyway, let's get into this round 1, Day 1 draft. So we start off, the Panthers were first overall. They traded their pick to the Bears. The Bears traded their pick to the Panthers weeks ago. The Panthers bring in Bryce Young as a quarterback. And I'm like, whoa, Bryce Young goes number 1. I'm like, what is he, like 5'11"? What is he, like 5'11", something like that? I'm like, really? You really want to draft Bryce Young at number 1? Now, I'm a fan of Bryce Young, but he, again, I didn't see why would you draft him number 1. Like C.J. Stroud was clearly the guy that was going to get drafted first overall, but apparently not, because the Frank Reich and the Panthers we want Bryce Young as our quarterback from Alabama, so he comes in at number 1. Number 2 is the Texans, and this is a good move for the Texans. They bring in C.J. Stroud from Ohio State. Then the Cardinals were third, but the Texans traded up, and you've had D'Amico Ryan's I need to address the defensive side of the ball, and then they traded up for Will Anderson Jr., the edge from Alabama. Then the Colts were at fourth. The Colts had a great acquisition here, Anthony Richardson. I think a lot of people were sleeping on Anthony Richardson. A lot of people were like, oh, Bryce Young's a better quarterback. C.J. Stroud is a better quarterback. I think, in my opinion, the top 2 quarterbacks maybe should have been C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson. But Anthony Richardson is a steal at 4. In my opinion, he's a steal at 4. I wanted him for the Detroit Lions because, again, he's one of those guys that could potentially be a franchise guy that could change your franchise. And the Colts, it looks like they have finally got their quarterback in Anthony Richardson from Florida Gators. And I look at, you have some of the losers here, like the Seahawks. They could have gone for Anthony Richardson, they could have gone for Anthony Richardson, or they could have gone for Will Levis. I think that's a big loss for Seattle. They needed a quarterback, and they didn't address the quarterback position in this round. They could have gone for Will Levis, or they could have gone for Anthony Richardson, but they went for Devon Witherspoon, quarterback from Illinois. Again, you really need a quarterback, but you went for the defensive side of the ball again. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad draft, but you needed a quarterback. Then, my team, the Lions, we traded our pick so that the Cardinals could get Paris Johnson, offensive line from Ohio State. He's gone to the Cardinals. Again, the Cardinals needed some protection for Kyler Murray. Last season, there was a dumpster fire on that offensive side of the ball, and they needed protection for him, especially if you're going to pay Kyler Murray that $160 million guaranteed contract. So they needed somebody like Paris Johnson Jr. to help in that offensive side of the ball. A couple of other things I'm going to talk about. Bijan Robinson, who was a running back that went to the Falcons. I actually said in one of my scouting videos I did of him that he would be a good pick in Atlanta, and he went to Atlanta. So that was a good pick. The Bears, they traded their 9th round pick to the Eagles, who were 10th. And the Eagles got Jalen Carter. Again, that's a good fit for him, I think, in my opinion. A lot of people say, oh, he's a generational talent. Still, on tape, there's a lot of things that he needs to work on. Again, he spends most of his time with, on his belly and stuff like that. That's something he needs to work on. And I think if he goes to somewhere like the Eagles, he's not going to be the starting defensive line. Again, he's going to learn under a lot of great minds in Philadelphia. But I think it's a good acquisition for a draft. I just think he's not a starter right away for the Eagles. Then we have Broderick Jones. He goes to the Jets, which I think is a good acquisition for them. Again, you've got this shit ton of money you give to the Packers. You need to get weapons around Aaron Rodgers, and getting Broderick Jones is a good acquisition on that offensive side of the ball. The Bears got Darnell Wright. Again, the key of that draft. This draft was all about protecting Justin Fields and seeing if he's truly the guy. Getting getting Darnell Wright was a great acquisition. I like that. A couple of other things I want to talk about. You had Nolan Smith. He got drafted to Eagles. He's a good addition from Georgia. You have Miles Murphy, who went to the Bengals from Clemson. Again, that's a good acquisition. Christian Gonzalez, which is a good thing. Christian Gonzalez, he went to the Patriots. Something good that Bill Belichick did was actually address the quarterback position and working at the defensive side of the ball. And Christian Gonzalez, I wanted him for the Lions. He comes in here and he comes in for the Patriots, and I think he's going to be a good addition to the Patriots defense. Then Quentin Johnson to the Chargers. Again, you need some weapons, more weapons for Justin Herbert, and I think that was a good acquisition. Jaxon Smith-Njigba he got drafted to the Seahawks, but again, you don't have no fucking quarterback. I like Geno Smith, but he's not going to be the quarterback that's going to change your franchise. Again, Njigba is a good acquisition, and you're going to have him, Metcalf, Tyler Lockett as well. Those three guys are going to see how they click in Seattle. But that was a good acquisition. Overall, the winners of this draft, I would say that the Texans got what they needed. They needed the quarterback. They needed to address the quarterback position. They worked on the defensive side of the ball things. The Cardinals, they had a good first round, I would say, because again, they got help on that defensive side of the ball. They also got Paris Johnson Jr., which they need to protect Kyler Murray, and they got cap space for next year's draft, 2025, and I think 2026, because they did a couple of trades with my team, the Lions, a couple of other teams as well in the second and third round. So they had a good overall draft, I think, for the Cardinals. But yeah, I think really, again, like Will Levis, I think he should have got in the first round. I'll talk about him in another video, in my second and third round video. But again, I think he should have gone first round. But overall, leave you guys thoughts and comments.